We have another presentation from SAP. Johnny Clemmons is joining us again, who's the Global Vice President of Engineering, Construction, and Operations Industry Business Unit. Johnny works all over the world, working with the world's largest general contractors to help them implement ERP strategies and digital twin strategies. Very excited to have him back. He's coming to us live from Florida. If you tuned in to the session this morning, this is a little bit redundant, but Johnny's spent his whole career, worked in the military for about 5 years, and then has 25 years construction experience working with multiple general contractors, lastly with Kiewit, and then he helped with several implementations, ERP implementations, and obviously is making waves at SAP with the digital twin strategy. So I'm going to turn it over to Johnny now, and thank you very much for joining us again.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Happy to do it. So if you hear thunder in the background, that just means we're having some severe weather on the Gulf Coast today. So I can't control that, but I'll try to speak up if it does start happening. So just to give you a bit of background for everyone. So my team at SAP is really responsible for the engineering and construction industry end to end. So we work with our customers to understand the needs of what's happening in the industry, put together the SAP strategy around how we're going to address those needs, and then work with our internal development teams and partners to build out solutions to meet the needs of our customers. So to give you a bit of an idea of the way that we go about doing that as context is we work with what we call our Executive Advisory Council for Engineering and Construction. What you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen are some of the customers who participate regularly with us in that advisory council. But for some of you who may not realize it, SAP has had a dedicated construction practice, what we call an industry business unit, for over 20 years now. That goes back to 1997, I believe. And we have over 3,000. What is the industry going to need? We used to try to look out 5 years, but no one seems to be able to see 5 years into the future anymore because things are changing so rapidly. So we're really thinking in that 1 to 3 year range of what people are going to need in the industry. When we
connection issues with who Johnny mentioned, there's a storm rolling in. So
of what's going on with COVID-19, but we're really looking out much further than that today with these global trends and what's happening in the construction industry. So we're looking demographically at about 9 billion people by the year 2050, which is significant growth from a population standpoint, and then 2 out of 3 of those people will be living in cities by 2050. So it's really the largest migration in human history that's ongoing right now. And with that means that a lot of the infrastructure that we're going to need, 25% of the infrastructure that we're going to need in 2050 exists today, which means we have to double the infrastructure that's in place: roads, bridges, airports, highways, and then we need to double it again between now and 2050. So that's just 30 years that we have to do a significant amount of work. And as an industry, as a construction industry, if we fail to do that, the cost in human terms will be significant, with millions.
Okay, well, it looks like we might be losing Johnny. We'll see what happens here, and we'll I'm going to try to make him aware of the fact that the storm is interfering with his connection. But if he drops off completely, we may have to. Hey, Johnny, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. When did you lose me?
Oh, you cut out a couple times there as the storm's rolling in.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my video off, because that may be
Yeah, that might help.
See if that will improve the overall performance here. So, can you still hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. And if for whatever reason you drop off completely, we'll just reschedule this with the group, but we'll try to get through this. So far, it's been pretty good for about 80% of the time.
Okay, great. And if you have any more problems, let me know. And so what our customers are telling us, that there are really 3 primary areas that they're experiencing issues and that they wanted us to address for them, is really around project complexity. As construction projects get bigger, taller, more technologically advanced, and and need to meet more strict environmental requirements, the complexity of the projects and the project designs is increasing. And what they've said they want from SAP is to help them move from their siloed information approach that they have around projects today to a more BIM-based collaboration approach. The second thing that they're worried about is workforce experience. As the workforce gets younger and younger and the more experienced tradespeople retire, they're seeing a significant need to include more automation in their business processes. They want to, instead of having to have people understand the next step in some of their business processes, they want the systems to drive those processes and let the people focus on what they do and what they need to do to be really good at the tasks that they're performing. And then the last one is really low productivity, and a part of that low productivity is the supply chain and the ability to understand when materials are going to arrive, when workers are going to arrive, and have all of those things come together at the right time via a connected supply chain. And those customers, they have really turned that into a group of strategic priorities that they want to see around digitizing expertise and knowledge. How do we make the information that you have as an organization, or the knowledge you have as an organization, available in the right time, in the right format, to the right people, so that they can use it sort of on demand. Think of it like, hey, I need to know how to change a tire. If I don't, and I can go to YouTube and watch a video. So, companies want that same sort of capability for their project teams to be able to do those things. They want to improve their connected construction. How do we understand what's happening at project sites from an IoT perspective, and other digital connectivity to understand that connected work, that connected construction piece. They really want to improve the intercompany collaboration. They want to solve the problem of commissioning to operations. How do we hand over projects more seamlessly to our customers? And then that digital supply chain component that we talked about a minute ago, how do we deal with those things? And so when we think about that in terms of the impact on project risk, those things are really intertwined. When you think about, project complexity increasing and workforce, experience decreasing, you really start to see an increase in the risk on projects. And it's not like projects aren't risky enough already. Everybody knows the numbers, 30% of projects on budget, only 15% of projects on time, and the numbers going on with workforce experience. So what we're looking to do in conjunction with our customers is find ways to reduce that risk across the construction value chain, right? So we really look at that end-to-end value chain for construction companies and say, how do we reduce the risk across the whole thing? Obviously, there are things you can do in the opportunity stage. Hey, should we even bid on this project? Do we know enough? Have we done enough similar projects? And having that sort of visibility into what you've done historically across your organization can be helpful in picking the right projects. Selecting the right people and the right mix of people to staff a project is important. And when you get into the supply chain management and the project execution, that's where most of the real surprises happen, right? There are delayed deliveries. There are changes on the project that are ongoing. There are unforeseen conditions that you run into. It's a very dynamic environment, but also highly complex, as we talked about earlier, with these larger projects with all of the technological components that are included in them. And then ultimately you have to turn that over to an owner, or maybe as many contractors are doing, maybe you maintain that facility for the long term with the owner, particularly if it was a public-private partnership where you own that thing for 20 or 30 years into the future. So there's a whole gamut of things, but we really want to talk about is the use of the digital twin throughout this life cycle, but primarily in those middle areas there around the supply chain management and the project execution, and understanding how we reduce risks doing through those solutions. And so just a very quick background on why SAP is talking about this, because I think it's, most people would say when you talk about BIM or digital twins, SAP is not the first name that comes to mind, but we have been doing this for many years. And historically we've sort of lived in the upper right hand or upper left hand box, which is helping companies combine the models that are generated from different software and combining that into a harmonized model and connecting that model to their internal business systems in order to, to optimize their internal business processes. Where we're moving to today is into the cross company optimization and collaboration using the building information model or the digital twin as the core of that digitization. So that's just the sort of the quick thing there, is think about it in terms of cross-company multi-source document, right? Because it's important to understand SAP doesn't have a design tool for creating BIM models, right? So what we really do is we help people collaborate around those, and we help people connect those to their other parts of their business and their business processes in order to get more value out of those models that are being created by the various tools that are out there. And here we want to help you connect across the various tools that are out there and use that in your business processes. So the way we think about that is in terms of a network of digital twins. When you look at it in turn, you say, hey, during the project phase, you really want to have project intelligence. You want to be able to collaborate around the design, the construction, the planning, all the things that happen during the project phase of it. And then ultimately, you want to have an alternate view of that same model with different data points connected to it around the asset management and predictive maintenance and service and those sorts of things that you need in the operations phase of that. But when we focus in and drill in on the construction piece of this, and we say, what's the big change, or what are we thinking about people doing differently? So in most construction projects today, it's really about the siloed communication. People do their best to communicate. They use they have construction site meetings where they bring together people and they talk as a group. But a lot of the communication is still one-to-one phone calls, emails from maybe one to many. But then ultimately that ability to to collaborate around information becomes difficult, particularly when you're talking about large amounts of data that's associated with with building information models and digital twins. And so when we look at that, we say we want to move this to more of a connected way, where there's this central project data repository that's really built around the digital twin and everyone connects to it. Now, that's not a unique idea, right? There are lots of people out there who have said, hey, we want a project collaboration tool to allow exchange of information around projects. But we're doing it. There's a couple of things that differently. We're using the model or the digital twin as the core component of that collaboration, and then we're also trying to make this where it eliminates one of the biggest issues that introduces risks. This idea, something I like to call swivel chair integration. Right? What happens on many projects where one of these collaboration tools has been introduced to the project is that companies still have their own internal processes that they use for managing things. So they're recording things in their own internal systems, and then they swivel their chair around or they log into another site and they enter that same information in the project's collaboration tool. So what we've provided is a complete set of open APIs where we can connect to those business systems that you may already be using that are for managing your submittals. Let's say if you have a tool that you're using to manage those and you want to have continue to manage them there, but then bring them into the Project Intelligence Network and share them with everyone else through that, and then get them back in your own system so that you don't have to switch systems in the middle. Now, you certainly have the option, if you don't have a tool where you're internally managing those things today, that you can use the web interface within our within the solution to do that. But that's really the idea, right? Is to automate as many of the processes as possible, have this single location or the single collaboration tool in the middle. So when you think about a construction project, what are the types of inputs that you might have and the types of people that you might be connecting to? When you think about the project itself and the IoT devices that are out there, whether you're tracking concrete deliveries to site through the site through the IoT devices that might be in the concrete trucks, or whether you're tracking individual pieces of material on the job site, whatever you might be doing from an IoT perspective or from a from a drone perspective of monitoring, be able to pull all that information together in a location where you can then share that with other people on the project site. If you're an engineering provider and you're doing plans, or if you're an architect and you're building models, all of those things can be connected in, and all those people can be connected in. And this isn't something where you have to have an SAP solution, right? This is cloud-based solution where you're running whatever you run. If you are running an SAP solution, there's a lot of seamless connectors that already exist. But if you're not, you can still connect and use your existing systems to connect. And now we can start to do things like understanding what's happening, across the project in real time for different people on the project without having to do that direct communication. So what are the types of things that typically introduce risk or cause problems on construction sites? I didn't know that that plans had changed. I didn't get that bulletin. Those are the types of things that introduce a lot of risk onto projects, that people are just not up to date on the appropriate information. So ensuring that everyone has the right information at the right time is very important. And then delivering that information to people in the field is also important. And one of the underlying things within our solution is that we don't move files around, except for when we bring in the initial file from the BIM tool or the CAD tool. We bring that file in, we convert that to data, and then much like a gaming system, then we stream the information out to the people that need that information, so that you aren't exchanging large files across your projects. That allows it to perform in a way that makes sense. So what types of things are our customers actually asking us to do, and that we're doing here? So you may have the owner and the general contractor who have a system that they've integrated in, or using SAP or some other system they wanted to connect to the solution. And then you may have people on the other end, on the right-hand side, that are suppliers and whatnot, that don't have their own internal systems, and all they want to do is just access over the internet and provide information that way. You have both. You can do both of those things, and anyone can do both. But then in the middle, what you really look at is what types of application services would be provided on the platform. Obviously, there's the type things like 5D financial control would be out there. Issue and task management, just overall management of digital twins. When someone updates the latest CAD model, bringing that CAD model in, updating the underlying harmonized model with those changes, identifying the changes between the last approved set and this new set that's been submitted, so that you're able to understand what was added, what was deleted, what was changed within that model, so that you can then take the appropriate business steps to action around that, whether that's updating some pricing, or whether that's just making sure that the people in the field are aware that those changes have occurred and they can be highlighted. Connecting to project schedules and understanding what's happening from a master plan perspective, and connecting those master plan schedule items to individual objects or work packages within the model, so that you can understand progress based on either some sort of real-time verification of what's happening in the field via drones or other things that you want to do as you move forward, or through just mobile device, people going out and updating certain things, saying this work's been completed or that work's been completed. But it's obvious that we know we haven't included everything up front on this, but our customers have told us it's important that that we build this in a modular way, where that we can add additional applications to this and new services to the solution as we go forward, and that also that our customers and partners can add additional services to this. So we already have partners in the drone business that are working with us around adding additional services there, where you're able to integrate drone-based data into that, and partners that are beginning to build other applications, on top of our platform that tie right into this, that allow you to do things that you didn't even imagine you wanted to do a couple of years ago. So the innovation levels are quite impressive in what people are beginning to do as they think about this idea of reducing risk, and how do we communicate information better, more seamlessly, and using that digital twin at the center of that. So these are the, I'm not going to belabor the point, but these are the processes that that we've built into the solution that that people are very interested in automating in their processes. And then, as for those of you who are on the call earlier, I talked in depth about the network of digital twins and the solutions that SAP has that supports that. I'm not going to go into that in detail here because they're having a few connect. What we're able to do with SAP, the way we're able to execute all this is because we have our SAP cloud platform that allows us to connect all those different products together that we have, and also allows us to connect to other solutions out there in the market through our integration services. So I will go ahead and stop there, and just we can go ahead and do some question and answer.
And I hope that this hurricane's not blowing your house away there. Anyway, so yeah, so that was very good. Thank you very much. That builds on the presentation that you delivered this morning. One of the things that SAP allows is connecting, the planning stage of the project through to the construction stage and then beyond. Do you see, with all the potential to have sensors on job sites, potentially on cranes and other dynamic things moving on the job site, that data will feed into the system, so you can have live data off your construction site to understand how that affects productivity, maybe potentially in real time?
Yeah, so when we start to think about, I think I understood your question in terms of having having sensors on job sites and how that affects the way things happen in real time, or the way that people make decisions in real time. We definitely see that as a direction the industry is going. And so we wanted to provide capabilities to support that as we go forward into the future. So as you think about the integration of sensors on site, as I said, whether those sensors are sensors that are reading information, or whether those sensors are things like drones that are taking pictures and recording progress, if you're able to record progress, or you're able to detect an anomaly, then you can feed that into the system in real time. And when you have that connected across the entire project value chain to all of the people in the value chain, it allows you to make micro adjustments to the things that you're doing on site that you can't make without that sort of visibility. Mm-hmm. So it's both the IoT devices in certain areas, but it's also just that visibility that you get from people with mobile devices recording things in real time and allowing you to feed that in to help with those micro adjustments that you want to make. If people run into problems on construction sites all the time because you forgot to tell someone that their start date was delayed by a day. If you had communicated that to them, then they would have just showed up a day later. When you didn't tell them and they show up, then they go, "Why didn't you tell me?" That's there's a cost issue for them, and then they're also trying to scramble to reallocate their people, and sometimes they go away for a week and don't come back. So for a one-day problem, you end up with a week delay, which is a real issue. So that ability to make those micro adjustments and actually pull schedules forward in time, because you are able to communicate clearly to people that things are changing, are important.
Yeah. So maybe just one last question before we have to wrap up. But what would you recommend to businesses that want to start to look at automation? What would be the first steps to finding the correct sort of technology stack, evaluating products, and how do you roll that out and change that culture within your business to take on a new platform that may structure a lot of your work?
Yeah. So it's important.
We lost you again. Okay.
Important to understand, it's really, for most people, right? It's people, process, and technology. So you have to have an understanding that you're looking to change your processes and that you want to automate some of those business processes. So you have to start with that willingness or that commitment to change, because you know that it's going to be better down the line, and put together a plan in order to communicate that with your people and get their buy-in. Because no matter what you do from a technology perspective, if your people won't use it, then it won't help you.
Yeah.
And
You
so
just
exactly, getting that adoption is key, and getting the buy-in of the key leaders. And the other thing is you need to make sure that you choose technologies that are intended to gather information as a byproduct of helping people do their work, right? If they have to go and enter the data, if they do their work the same way they've always done it and then go enter the data, then there's no real value to them, right? So you need to look at it and what's the value to the user? If there's real value to him and him using that solution and putting information into it, then he's much more likely, to use it because it has value to him as an end user.